Growth comes with loneliness. If you want a mind so strong it makes others uneasy, prepare for the first and hardest truth. Real growth often feels like isolation. Not because you've done anything wrong, but because you're finally doing what's right for you. You stop pretending, stop showing up for empty conversations, and no longer fake interest in things that drain your energy. You begin to see through the noise, and that clarity distances you from the crowd. People won't always understand. In fact, the clearer your vision becomes, the more it unsettles others. When you start making better choices, like quitting bad habits or staying silent during gossip, it reflects what others are still avoiding. They might mock you or act like you've changed too much, but the truth is you've simply stopped needing to fit in. Deep down, aren't you tired of pretending to care about things that don't touch your soul? Tired of smiling when you feel empty inside? That doesn't make you cold. It means you're done playing a role in someone else's emotional drama. You're not rejecting people, you're reclaiming your space. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "To live a good life, we have the potential for it if we can learn to be indifferent to what makes no difference." A good life isn't measured by how many people surround you, but by how free you are from things that don't matter. This kind of freedom scares people. When you stop chasing validation and distractions, your presence reveals their noise. That's why the road to real strength often begins alone. There's no manual for walking your path in silence. No school teaches you how to stay awake while the rest of the world sleeps. But this is the truth: a strong mind isn't built through applause. It's forged in quiet moments when no one understands you and you stay steady anyway. Can you sit in a silent room with your own thoughts and not try to escape? If you always need others to feel complete, you'll never find your true self. Loneliness, when embraced, becomes the space where your real mind is rebuilt. It's not punishment, it's preparation. The ones who can walk alone without losing their way are the ones who eventually lead. Your change will threaten others. When you begin to grow, even in small ways, it can make people uncomfortable. Not because you are doing something wrong, but because your change reflects something they have been avoiding in themselves. Growth, even quiet and gradual, acts like a mirror. It forces others to confront their own stagnation. You might notice this when you start reading more, complaining less, or saying no to things that used to drain you. Instead of receiving encouragement, you may be met with sarcasm or disinterest. Comments like, "Since when did you get all serious?" or "You've changed," are not always said with warmth. Often they come from a place of discomfort. The truth is, your effort to become better reminds people that they've been standing still. This doesn't make you arrogant or judgmental. It just means you've chosen to rise, and that decision quietly challenges others to reconsider their own choices. There's a term for this in social psychology: groupthink. It describes how people conform to maintain harmony in a group. When you stop going along with complaints or refuse to join meaningless habits, you're seen as a disruption. Not because you're wrong, but because you've stepped outside the old pattern. Throughout history, this discomfort with change has always existed. Socrates was sentenced to death not for any crime, but for asking uncomfortable questions. Malcolm X faced betrayal from his own allies when his beliefs evolved. Their growth became a threat not just to systems, but to the people who once supported them. Have you ever held back your own transformation just to keep the peace? How many times have you dimmed your light to stay accepted by those who feared it? The hard truth is this: the people you bend for today may be the first to walk away tomorrow. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The object of life is not to be on the side of the majority, but to escape finding oneself in the ranks of the insane." You don't owe anyone your old self. Keep moving forward, even if it means doing it alone. Real change doesn't beg for applause. It is quiet, steady, and grounded. And when others don't understand, you don't need to explain. Just keep walking. Let go of needing approval. The moment you stop needing approval is the moment you start becoming powerful. A free mind. One that does not seek permission or applause unsettles people. It breaks away from the rules they silently live by. When you no longer chase recognition, you become unpredictable. And to most, that is a threat. You are not dangerous because you harm anyone. You are dangerous because you expose what others are afraid to confront in themselves. This kind of inner freedom is rare. Nietzsche called it the Übermensch, a person who rises above herd thinking and creates their own values. They do not ask, "Is this acceptable?" They ask, "Is this worthy of me?" Think about it. How many times have you censored yourself just to keep others comfortable? Have you ever deleted a post, changed your opinion, or stayed quiet not because you wanted to, but because you feared judgment? The question is not how often you do it, but why you feel you need to. When your behavior is driven by a need for recognition, you are no longer in control. You are no longer living your own life. You are reacting, performing, existing under someone else's gaze. Stoic philosophy teaches us that if we truly want to improve, we must be willing to be misunderstood, even thought of as foolish. Growth demands that kind of bravery. It is not comfortable, but it is necessary. Society pushes conformity. It rewards obedience and punishes disruption, not because your freedom is wrong, but because it forces others to question their own choices. They may call you arrogant, selfish, or cold, but that is only because your independence reminds them of what they have not yet built for themselves. Real strength is being able to do what is right without asking for anyone's blessing. Go eat alone. Speak your truth without dressing it up. Do something bold without sharing it online. Then ask yourself, if no one ever noticed, would it still be meaningful? You were not born to follow every rule or to live for likes. You were born to think, to question, and to act on your own terms. Let go of needing approval. The less you seek it, the more power you take back. Own your life completely. You do not need to raise your voice to be powerful. True strength is shown by staying calm when everyone else is reacting. In a world ruled by impulse, the person who pauses to think becomes the most dangerous one in the room. That kind of control begins with accepting a hard truth: no one is responsible for your life but you. In Stoic philosophy, there is a concept called logos, the rational order that governs the universe. Life moves according to its own laws, whether you like it or not. But logos is not fate, it sets the stage. How you act on that stage is entirely up to you. You might lose a job. You might be betrayed, misunderstood, or rejected. That is life's role. Your role is how you respond. And your response is what reveals your true strength. Many people confuse faith with surrender, believing that living well means life should go smoothly. But real maturity begins the moment you let go of that illusion. It starts when you look in the mirror and ask, if no one comes to help me, how far can I carry myself? That shift from looking outward to taking full ownership within is when real growth begins. Nietzsche once said God is dead. He was not celebrating that idea. He was warning humanity that there is no longer a higher force to blame or depend on. No fate, no divine plan, no manual. You are steering your own ship, and if it crashes, there is no one to point at but yourself. It is a lonely truth, but within it lies tremendous power. When you accept full responsibility, no one can use guilt or fear to manipulate you. You become someone others cannot control. Start small. Drop the excuses. I am this way because of my past. People don't understand me, or it's society's fault. Those are shields that keep you from facing yourself. Try this tonight instead of asking, who drained me today? Ask, what responsibility did I avoid today? Write it down, not to criticize yourself, but to choose differently tomorrow. A strong mind is not one that always has the answers. It is one that accepts responsibility even when it is uncomfortable. That is how you take your life back completely. Strength is facing pain. Real strength does not come from positive affirmations or pretending everything is fine. It comes from facing pain head on, not avoiding it, not numbing it, but meeting it with open eyes and a steady heart. We are taught to fear pain, to run from it, distract ourselves, or pretend it is not there. But in reality, pain is not your enemy. It is a teacher. The cracks it leaves in your life are where the light gets in. They show you what needs healing, where growth must happen, and what matters most. Ask yourself, how many times have you run from discomfort instead of facing it? And what did that running give you? A sense of relief, maybe, but also emptiness, because pain that is buried does not disappear. It festers. It waits. A mind of steel is not forged in moments of comfort. It is shaped in chaos and confusion, and in those silent nights when everything hurts and nothing makes sense. That is where you either collapse or rebuild. Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, wrote in Man's Search for Meaning that humans can endure almost anything if they find meaning in their suffering. Pain becomes bearable when it serves a purpose. There is a story of a man named James. He was a successful engineer, a father, and a husband. Everything fell apart when his 6-year-old son died in a tragic accident. For months, James shut down. He buried himself in work and refused to feel. But one day he found his son's shoes under a table and it broke. He cried, remembered, and allowed himself to feel the full weight of the loss. That moment changed everything. James began writing letters to his son one every day. Over time, those letters turned into a book that helped thousands of grieving parents. His pain once faced became purpose. You may not have experienced a tragedy like James, but everyone carries pain. The question is, are you running from it or learning from it? Each morning, ask yourself, what pain am I avoiding, and what can it teach me? Write it down, not to dwell in it, but to transform it. Just like coal becomes diamond under pressure, your mind becomes stronger when tested by pain. Strength is not the absence of suffering. It is the ability to stand in it and rise anyway. Expect the worst. One of the most powerful habits of mentally strong people is their ability to prepare for the worst. Not because they are pessimists, but because they refuse to live in denial. They do not want surprises to steal their peace. They do not want reality to catch them off guard. That is what makes them dangerous, because you cannot break someone who has already made peace with failure. The person who unsettles others the most is not the one who complains loudly. It is the one who sits quietly in chaos, face calm, eyes steady, as if they saw it coming. People might call them cold, but it is not coldness. It is calm built through preparation. That is Stoicism in action. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The wise man sees in the misfortune of others what he should avoid. The wise do not wait to suffer before they think. They reflect, they observe, and they prepare. They ask the hard questions. What if someone I love dies suddenly? What if I lose my job tomorrow? What if I am betrayed by the person I trust most?" These questions are not meant to cause anxiety. They are meant to bulletproof your mind. Investor Howard Marks once said, "Risk is what's left when you think you've thought of everything." That is why he always plays out the worst-case scenario before making a decision. Not because he doubts himself, but because he understands the true danger lies in being surprised. When was the last time you imagined the worst, then planned for it? Here's a simple exercise. Each week, choose one area of your life, career, health, relationships, or finances. Then write down the worst thing that could realistically happen in that area. Now ask yourself, how would I respond? What's my plan B? If your heart stays steady as you do this, you are becoming unshakable. Mike Tyson walked into the ring without bravado or rage. His expression was still. Why? Because he had already fought the battle in his mind 100 times. That mental preparation was his edge. Expecting the worst does not make you negative. It makes you ready. And when life throws its punches, you will not flinch because you saw it coming and you are prepared to rise anyway. Power is not reacting. Most of our emotional suffering comes from trying to control things that were never ours to begin with. What people say, how they behave, how situations unfold. But here is the raw truth. We cannot control what others think, do, or feel. The only thing we fully control is our response. Reacting emotionally, especially out of anger or pride, is often just a desperate attempt to reclaim control. But in that moment, we give away our power. We let someone else pull the strings. Epictetus once said, "If someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation." When you explode with anger, you are handing over your mind to another person. They did not even have to do much, a single word, a look, and they owned your peace. That is why non-reaction is so powerful. It is not weakness. It is discipline. It is the quiet decision to protect your energy instead of wasting it. You do not need to win every argument. You do not need the last word. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is walk away in silence. Take the story of Andrew, a high school teacher. One day, a student's parents stormed into the school and accused him of discrimination. They shouted at him in the hallway while students watched. Andrew stood still. He listened without interrupting. When they finally stopped, he simply said, "I understand your concern. I will follow protocol and report this to the principal." He did not defend himself. He did not fight back. But everyone watching saw his strength. His stillness spoke louder than any defense. That is the power of non-reaction. It reflects the chaos back on others. It exposes their instability while you remain grounded. Start practicing this in small moments. A rude driver, an online insult, a snide remark. Do not react. Just breathe. Observe. Let your silence become a mirror. In a world where everyone is quick to react, the rare few who can pause and think hold real power. They are not controlled by words, looks, or silence. They respond only to what matters. And when you stop reacting, you start living on your own terms. That is the kind of power no one can take from you. Critical thinking is the sharpest weapon. The most powerful minds are not loud or aggressive. They are precise, calm, and unshakably independent. In a world full of reaction and noise, critical thinking is the sharpest weapon you can possess. It protects you not just from being wrong, but from being controlled. No one is born a critical thinker. It is not a talent. It is a skill forged through discipline and daily effort. It starts with asking uncomfortable questions. Why do I believe what I believe? Who is influencing my thoughts? Are my words truly mine, or are they just echoes of the crowd? Critical thinking is the daily battle between your habitual mind and your awakened mind. It is not about proving others wrong. It is about being willing to examine your own thoughts even when it hurts, even when it means letting go of long-held beliefs. The reward is clarity, the kind that cannot be shaken by opinion or emotion. We live in the information age, yet very few people truly know how to think. We scroll, consume, and react without taking the time to digest or reflect. It is like eating fast food every day and wondering why we feel sick, tired, and lost. A strong mind does not feast on convenience. It demands truth even when it is slow and difficult. Start small. When someone says, everyone does this, pause and ask, who is everyone, and why should that matter to me? When you see headlines meant to provoke outrage, ask, what's missing from this story? What's the context? Not to be contrarian, but to preserve your ability to think before emotion takes over. Every time someone's words hurt you, ask, what fear did this touch in me? Every time you are angry, ask, what am I defending, truth or ego? These are not just questions, they are tools that sharpen your awareness and reclaim your peace. Try this simple exercise. Pick one belief you have about life, people, or even yourself. Ask where it came from. Who taught it to you? What evidence supports it? When was the last time you changed your mind? If you cannot remember, that might be your first sign that you are not thinking, you are repeating. Even in conversation, listen deeply, not to respond, but to understand. Why does the other person feel this way? What shaped their view? Real listening takes humility. It means setting your ego aside in pursuit of truth, even if it challenges your pride. A critical thinker does not waste energy on meaningless battles. They choose their ground. They protect their mind. They walk through the world not with arrogance, but with calm certainty because their beliefs are their own. In the end, you do not need to know everything. You just need to know what is worth questioning, what is worth believing, and what is not worth your peace. That is the essence of a powerful, untouchable mind. If you want to live with true power, begin by strengthening your mind not with pride or noise, but with quiet discipline. Life will throw chaos, judgment, betrayal, and loss at you, but your strength lies in how you respond. Most people seek approval, react emotionally, and avoid discomfort, yet wonder why they feel powerless. The truth is, you cannot build a strong mind while living for the crowd. You must stop performing and start thinking. Begin with solitude. Turn off distractions. Sit alone and reflect. Can you face your thoughts without escaping into a screen or a shallow conversation? If not, that's your first challenge. Then take full responsibility for your life. Do not blame your past, your parents, or society. The moment you accept that your choices shape your future is the moment you become unstoppable. When you are tempted to explain yourself to others who misunderstand your growth, remain silent. Let your actions speak. Let your transformation disturb the comfort zones of those still asleep. Don't expect support, expect resistance, and prepare for it. Imagine the worst, not to become anxious, but to become ready. Play out failure in your mind until you no longer fear it. Build backup plans. Expect betrayal. Expect loss. And know that even in those moments, you will not break. Because you saw it coming and you trained for it. In your daily life practice, non-reaction. When someone disrespects you, pause. Breathe. Your silence will reveal more about your strength than any argument ever could. Let others be loud while you stay grounded. This stillness is what separates leaders from followers. Ask yourself every day, am I living by my own values or someone else's expectations? If the answer feels uncertain, it's time to redefine your code. Question everything, every belief, every opinion, every emotional reaction. Dig to the root of your thoughts and strip away what isn't yours. What remains is truth, and truth is freedom. Don't fear being misunderstood. Fear never discovering who you truly are. The path will be lonely at times, but it is in that solitude that your mind sharpens. It is in facing your pain, not avoiding it, that your resilience grows. Like coal under pressure becomes diamond, your trials will reveal your strength if you do not run. If today is the day you decide to stop living for others and start building an unshakable mind, begin with one action. Sit in silence. Face a fear. Question a belief. Walk away from something meaningless. And do it without fanfare. Do it because it makes you stronger. That is how you begin to live, not just exist. That is how you become untouchable. If this message spoke to you, don't stop here. Watch the next video to keep building the mindset that sets you apart from the crowd. Every lesson brings you closer to unshakable strength, clarity, and freedom. Subscribe to Wise Edge and join a community of thinkers, warriors, and seekers committed to living with purpose. Your journey doesn't end, it evolves. See you in the next video.